Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. In today's video, I am going back to James Hutchinson case. I have already covered this in depth in another video. I will leave the link for it in the description below if you want to catch up on it. Right now, since this was requested by you, I want to talk about some details of the case which have not been released at the time when this first came to the public. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in today's video, or I might be disrespectful to the people convicted for James Hutchinson's murder. But I also want to say that all the information I'm giving you in today's video is already found in the public domain. The video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Also, I will be adding my own opinions as well. Before we get into the details, I just want to give you a quick overview of the case. On Saturday morning, February the 27th, at 3 a.m., a police report states that Britney Gosney drove her kids, Rachel aged 9, Lucas aged 7 and James aged 6 to Rush Run Park in Preble County. The 29-year-old mother drove the three children in a 2005 Dodge Caravan registered under James Hamilton's name to Rush Run Park to abandon them there. She was familiar with the area because she and Hamilton had taken the children there before to go fishing. It was one of their favorite activities. So she knew that this area at this particular time would be deserted, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So she just dumps her three children in the cold and pitch dark night in the middle of nowhere, no houses around, no people around, only woods, lakes and a river. Nothing else for miles and miles. It seems that Britney was under pressure from James Hamilton to get rid of James Hutchinson and his two siblings. Britney got the kids out of the vehicle, left them behind in the car park lot and hit the gas, speeding off. James didn't really want to be left behind. He probably got too scared of the dark and the cold of the night, so he ran after the minivan, managing to grab the door handle. It's possible at this point that Britney noticed James hanging onto the door handle, so she ran him over. This will only be confirmed when James's body will be recovered. She then left the park and returned about 30 to 40 minutes later, and that's when she discovered James laying in the middle of the parking lot with a head injury, no longer breathing. She got the other two children in the car as well as James's body and returned to their home on Crawford Street, James Hamilton's house. Britney then put her son's body in a spare bedroom upstairs under a window. On Sunday, February the 28th, at around 3 a.m., after the other two children went to sleep, Britney and Hamilton drove to Interstate 275 bridge near Lawrenceburg, Indiana, where they dumped James's body into the Ohio River. According to police records, Britney Gosney and Hamilton said they threw the child's body into the river from the I-275 bridge that crosses the Ohio River. 7 hours later, Britney and Hamilton went to Middletown police to report James missing. Sunday, February the 28th at 10:17 a.m., Britney Gosney and James Hamilton, together with her other two children, go to the police station to report his disappearance. Britney reports James Hutchinson missing since 9 p.m. the previous night. She tells police she just woke up and he was gone. She said James was wearing a plain red shirt and Batman pajama bottoms, and they've been searching for hours, but they couldn't find him. From the get-go, investigators suspect that something is odd about the whole story. It just doesn't seem to add up. So they decide to interview Britney and Hamilton separately. That's when they realize both of them give different versions of events. Britney Gosney finally admits killing her son James Hutchinson. She also says Hamilton pressured her to get rid of the three kids. Britney Gosney is transported to Rush Run Wildlife Area by Middletown police to meet with the Preble County investigators. She was driven there to show both investigating agencies where exactly the incident happened that led to James Hutchinson's death. Preble County investigators took photos of the parking lot where it happened, completed a diagram and made measurements. The immediate area and parking lot was checked and no viable evidence was located. James Hamilton admitted to police he kept James's body in the Crawford Street house and then took part in disposing of it in the Ohio River. Britney Gosney, 29 years old, Hamilton's girlfriend and Hutchinson's mother, pleaded guilty to murder and 2 counts of felony child endangering for killing Hutchinson and abusing his siblings. She was sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility after 21 years on September 13. James Hamilton, 43 years old, pleaded guilty to kidnapping, 2 counts of child endangering and gross abuse of a corpse in connection with the abuse and death of James Hutchinson and the abuse of his 2 siblings in February. Butler County Common Pleas Judge Noah Powers II sentenced Hamilton to the maximum of 19 years. He will be eligible for parole after 15 years, but could serve the maximum depending on his behavior in prison. He will receive credit for 219 days served in the Butler County Jail. Hamilton was also ordered to pay court costs and will be required to register as a child victim offender and a violent offender when he is released from prison. And this is pretty much the quick overview of the case. Now, let's get into the details that have been released after the trial. The case moved quickly through the court system even during a time like this, like the one we are in now, because of the confessions and also evidence, including home surveillance camera videos collected during the investigation. Hamilton admitted to hog-tying James Hutchinson, putting a cloth in his mouth and leaving him. He also admitted to doing the same to Hutchinson's siblings and throwing the 6-year-old's body in the Ohio River on February 28. Hamilton's wife, Priscilla, and stepdaughter were also in the courtroom when he was sentenced. Britney Gosney admitted to taking her 3 children to Rush Run during the early morning hours of February 26th, then moving the 3 of them out of the van. When James clung to the van, he was dragged and killed. Gosney initially told detectives Hamilton was with her when they drove to Preble County and the boy was killed. She later said that she was alone with the kids. Hamilton, who was initially charged with tampering with evidence, told detectives that he was not present when the boy died. He told them where to find a hard drive for a security system that he hid in a garage on Logan Street that he said proved Britney Gosney returned carrying James, who was dead. The evidence shows Gosney walking out of the side door and getting into the Dodge Caravan parked in front of the Crawford Street residence at 3:16 a.m. on February 26. The 3 children are with her. The children get in the back seat and the van pulls away at about 3:19 a.m. At about 4:53 a.m., the van pulls up in front of the residence. Britney Gosney gets out of the van, hoists James, who is limp, against her chest and carries him through the yard and into the side door of the house. James appears to be wearing 1 shoe. The 2 siblings follow their mother. One appears to be carrying James's other shoe. On February the 28th at 2:28 a.m., Britney Gosney walks out of the home's side door and pulls up her hood because it's snowing or raining. She walks to the side of the van and opens the back sliding door. Seconds later, Hamilton carries James's body out, puts him in the van and quickly slams the door, and then they drive off. All this time, James's siblings were left alone in the house. James Hutchinson's body has not been found, but dive teams continue efforts when the water is safe to do so. At the end of September 2021, a new interrogation video was released where Hamilton shows detectives how he abused James Hutchinson and his siblings before he died.
Numerous things, I mean, nothing was working, sir.
So, and are they in foster care? They've been totally taken out. They've been totally taken out of the equation. They're not even with relatives right now. We're going to get them forensically interviewed. That's basically kind of a medical interview by professional people that have got time and effort and energy to make kids a lot more comfortable than I do talking to them. I mean, my God, they even bring a golden retriever in the room that lays in their laps while they do that.
Yes, they have them beat me and her both.
Mm-hmm. So,
I mean,
got like a little black eye, it kind of looks like to me.
That was from her mother smacking her in her eye.
When was it?
About a week ago now.
Mm-hmm. What was that over?
I don't really recall, sir.
Okay.
Her lying down.
What's the worst thing you've ever done to any of those kids?
Punched him.
Punched them. Which one did you punch last?
James.
James. Where did you punch him at?
On his side of that.
On the side right there.
He stood that little kick out right there by the couch.
Mm-hmm.
He went into the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couch. He stood right there in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, he just keep messing up. He's messing up. I'll yell at him, say something to him. He'd keep it up, keep it up. I'll just reach over and just very tap him.
Yeah, but it left bruises.
There was a few times it got a little harder. Sure. And I kept telling him, man, just straighten up. Just keep listening. Be good. You'll be out of that corner. I'm there for about 2 months, month and a half. He was good as gold. Not in the corner, nothing.
Right.
And all of a sudden he just flipped, started acting up again.
When was the last time you punched? You said or James? Okay. Which one? I'm sorry. Let me back up. Which one was standing in a corner by the kick out?
James.
That was James. How long ago was that?
About 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
4 days ago. Did he cry?
No, not really. I mean, he did a little bit, and that tried it up, and he was basically like he didn't care, right back to acting up and that. I mean, I literally tried to refrain from hitting on them. You can get in touch with Priscilla Farley at her. There was.
When was the last time you punched?
Probably a month and a half now.
What about
the same time as? I mean,
where'd you punch?
His legs.
His legs?
Yes.
So you just punched in the legs?
Yeah.
How many times do you think you hit him?
4 or 5 times.
And does he have bruises?
No.
None I know of. Did he get any bruises? From that time?
No.
And what about, when was the last time you punched her?
About 4 or 5 months ago. 3 months ago.
Where did she get punched at?
Her legs and sides.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
she had bruises? She's light skinned, so.
No, she never got no bruises.
So is that why you didn't want Britney to call the police? You were worried about the bruises on them?
No, not really, sir. I'd much rather.
I mean, it would make sense if you did.
I'd much rather go to jail for child abuse than what I'm facing now, sir. Have them lay down like this. Tied their hands first, and their feet.
Is that why there's like hangman's knots on that rope in the garage?
No, I just put them in there. The one where it's real long, still kind of wrapped up real neat in that. That one I left on there. I was going to hang her one teddy bear, that big unicorn that you seen in the front room there. I was going to hang it from the ceiling.
The rope that the kids were actually tied up in, is that in the trash can?
The one piece they was originally tied up with is over there in the storage that you all got now, the one with one noose in it. No, the noose was not used on the kids.
But that rope was used the whole time. So is there 3 pieces there? Did you tie them all together?
That one rope there was used. There's one rope that's in the garbage can.
In the bag that was just taken out?
Yes. And then the other one's on Brown James.
Okay, that was, so one of the ropes that kids were all tied with is actually wrapped around James.
Yes, sir. All right, cool. All right, very good.
He also told investigators that the kids were left hog-tied in a closet for approximately 6 hours as punishment for acting up. Hamilton also told detectives where they would find bruises on James if and when his body is ever recovered from the river. His backside, his back, on his ribs, on his legs, and that was me and her, not just me, Hamilton said, reiterating that Britney Gosney also took part in hitting the kids. Not only were the 3 kids hog-tied and left for hours, they were left for hours with cloth materials in their mouths as well. According to James Hamilton, Britney Gosney's boyfriend, she didn't try to abandon her 3 children at Rush Run Park, but this was intended as a scare tactic. 6-year-old James Hutchinson didn't survive it. He was run over while attempting to hang on to his mother's car as she drove away on February 27. She was supposed to take them up there, give them a scare tactic, Hamilton told police in released interviews. Drop them off for a few minutes. All of a sudden, she calls me and tells me he's dead. Who's dead? And she tells me James was chasing after her and that he tripped and fell and hit his head. The abandonment at Rush Run was the last in an escalating series of abusive discipline tactics that had also included forcing the children to walk on tiptoes and hog-tying them in their home for hours at a time. Hamilton described the 3 children as always acting up, forcing him and Britney Gosney to attempt extreme correction. He told police he helped Gosney dispose of Hutchinson's body in the Ohio River. She wants something to help hold him down in the water, Hamilton said, describing the scene. There was a brick tied to his chest. Hamilton also said that one of the ropes used to hog-tie the children was later used to tie a brick to Hutchinson's corpse before he was tossed into the river. Britney Gosney and James Hamilton were also accused of removing the hard drive from the video cameras outside their house and rope from the home and concealing it in another location. Now, let's talk about how Britney Gosney tried the insanity plea. You know what, when I initially covered this case, I don't know if you've seen it or not, I looked on her Facebook profile and I kind of predicted in that video she will try the insanity plea because of the depressing Facebook posts she had on her profile. Gosney's defense entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. At one point, Britney was awaiting a court-ordered mental health assessment to determine whether she was capable of assisting in her own defense. Then, a judge ordered a psychological evaluation and the competency evaluation hearing was set for April 26th. Needless to say, as we all know by now, she was deemed competent. The new Center 7 I-Team, who is an investigative team, has previously reported that Britney Gosney told police what led to the murder was pressure from her boyfriend, James Hamilton, to abandon James Hutchinson and his older brother and sister. In copies of Gosney's police interrogations obtained by the I-Team through a public records request, Gosney tells Middletown detectives at one point, and he, Hamilton, just said, "I don't care what you do with the children, get rid of them, do something with them." During Hamilton's March police interview, he admitted that. "I kept telling her she needs to do something with them," Hamilton told the detective, sitting across a table from him in a police interrogation room at the Middletown Police Department. "You need to do something with them, I don't care what." There is also Britney Gosney's claim to Middletown detectives before moving from a Miami Township hotel to Middletown and murdering her son, her call to Children's Services was ignored. Britney Gosney told the forensic psychologist who evaluated her competency she was SA'd and became pregnant when she was 12 years old. That is key context because she said in court documents she was told she was too young to have that child and put her daughter up for adoption. Then, in Gosney's version of the story, 17 years later, she claimed she reached out to Montgomery County Children's Services for help legally giving up custody of her kids. During an hours-long interrogation on March the 1st, then Middletown Deputy Police Chief Scott Reeve told Britney Gosney, "You put your first daughter up for adoption. A family took her in and hopefully she's doing well. But these kids, you're doing it different to get rid of them. You're abandoning them at Rush Run Wildlife Area." Well, I had tried to, Gosney then claimed, before later telling Reeve, "I even called them myself," referring to Children's Services. As Reeve asks Gosney to explain more, the two have the following exchange inside the Middletown Police Department's detective conference room on March the 1st. Reeve is asking, "Do you know what this family services organization, was it Montgomery County?" "Yes." "Okay, so you had called them while you were living in a motel, family services in Montgomery County. Was your intention to do like you had done with your first child?" She replies, "Yes." Okay, but that didn't work because they had to open a case and Big James Hamilton didn't want you to do that? "Yes." The I-team asked Butler County prosecuting attorney Mike Moser whether Gosney called Montgomery County Children's Services as she claimed to police. "It did not happen," Moser said. There was no evidence that we could find to support her statement. Despite Gosney's claims, Moser added she also never searched the internet or called her local fire station about giving up custody. At another point in the March the 1st interrogation, Britney Gosney told Middletown Police, "I looked it up on the website. Where can you take your children where they will be safe and you will not get in trouble for it? And it said your local fire station. I was going to take them to. I was told you could take them to the fire station, the local fire station, and drop them off. It will be safe there." "Okay, that would have been a good plan," Reeve replied. Then Gosney also said, "But when I had called around, they told me I couldn't do that. I was still abandoning my children." "That didn't happen either," Moser told Bedell. "At least we didn't have any evidence of it." Public records requests filed by the I-team with both the Butler County Prosecutor's Office and Montgomery County Children's Services show there are no records to support Britney Gosney's claims. "I think that in her mind she did what she thought could be done," Gosney's defense lawyer David Washington said. "I don't think there's any documentation at this point. I have tried to find that myself and I haven't been able to." Washington said the big picture point he is trying to make in the case's aftermath is there should be a system for parents who feel they are overwhelmed with their children and want to give up custody. If someone makes a minimum effort to say that they are overwhelmed or they can't deal with their children or their child, even a minimum effort should be responded to. Washington told WHIO after a judge sentenced Britney Gosney in September. "I am not saying that she did everything that she could have done. I didn't say that because certainly there are other options to the one that she chose. But what I'm saying is, even if there is a minimal effort or someone receives information to that degree where they are looking to relinquish their children, I think that there's got to be a hand on the other side to try and pull them in. And that's the point I'm trying to make," Washington added. Okay, this Washington guy, I get that he's her lawyer and, whatever he's trying to do there, but I'm sorry, guys. I beg to differ on this one. First of all, there is no such thing as a parent who is not overwhelmed at some point in their parenthood. At the worst of time, maybe all of us parents just want to have a break, right? But that doesn't mean that if you are overwhelmed, you will abandon or kill your kids. It doesn't mean if you are overwhelmed now, tomorrow you want to put your kids up for adoption. Yes, there are certainly some cases where this doesn't apply, but that's where the immediate family can come in. But Britney cut contact with her family because they didn't approve of Hamilton. State Rep. Phil Plummer told the I-Team in May a law change, something similar to Ohio's safe haven law, which right now allows birth parents to give up custody of newborns up to 30 days old without penalty, should be looked at and possibly expanded to include older children. The I-Team's John Bedell asked Plummer at the State House in Columbus, "Do you still think that sort of reform plan could help save another child like James Hutchinson in the future?" "Yeah, absolutely," Plummer replied, "and I'll look into that immediately." The I-Team also asked Moser for his thoughts on a potential reform plan that would expand Ohio's safe haven law to include older children. "I believe that we have to consider every situation and try to ameliorate as best we can the type of thing that happened with Gosney case," Moser said. "And if that means that when people are so stressed that they cannot deal with it and children are going to be injured or murdered, there should be something that society is able to do to slow that down or stop it entirely. Sometimes the laws need to be adjusted so that better things can happen. And so we don't have a Gosney repeat or a Hamilton repeat. And we don't have little James dead at 3 o'clock in the morning out in a forest preserve in the wintertime holding onto a car crying for his mother," Moser added. "The Gosney case, fortunately, is an aberration," Moser said, "but still it can happen again. And if it's going to happen again, maybe we can consider how we can avoid it. That's all I'm saying." Now let's just have a look at a video of Daryl and Betty Trivette, James's grandparents and Britney Gosney's mother and stepfather.
It's been nearly 6 months since little James Hutchinson disappeared, and for his grandparents, the pain and grief has been unbearable. Good evening, I'm Tricia Mackey.
And I'm Rob Williams. Police believe the Middletown 6-year-old boy was abandoned by his own mother, then killed before his body was dumped in the Ohio River.
As his mother's murder trial approaches, James' grandpa is sharing his perspective and his heartbreak for the first time.
Jessica Schmidt joins us live with the story you're going to see only right here on Fox 19 Now. Jessica.
Well, Rob and Tricia, we know that for months now, both rescuers and investigators have been searching the Ohio River here behind me, just looking for any sign of little James. But so far, they have not been able to find him. James's grandfather, Daryl, says he's just been anxiously waiting for some answers and decided he is ready to share part of his story. He told us a little bit more about how heartbreaking this devastating loss has been for him and some other family members, and shared that he's not convinced that James's body is actually in the water. The last memory Daryl Trivette has of his grandson, James Hutchinson, is one that will forever live in his heart. James hugged him, said goodbye, and told his grandpa that he loved him.
He was always happy, always hugging. He'd be the first one to run up to you and hug you.
It's a testament to who James was, smart and sweet even at only 6 years old. But it's also a haunting and tragic reminder of what's become an overwhelming loss for Daryl and his wife Betty. What's helped them survive the darkest days is the community support.
That's touched my heart. I'm still in contact with a few of them that doesn't. They're always checking on me.
James's mother, Britney Gosney, and Britney's boyfriend, James Hamilton, are accused of the Middletown boy's murder.
Part of me just wants to grab a hold of both of them and let them feel what they did to him.
Investigators believe Gosney attempted to abandon all 3 of her children at a Preble County park in February and killed James in the process. Gosney and Hamilton, per police, later took James's body back to their home where they kept him for 2 days before dumping him in the Ohio River. James has yet to be found.
It hurts me bad because I can't even say what he felt. Her leaving him out and him scared and trying to get back in, I can't fathom how he felt.
For Daryl and for Betty, the news came as a shock. He says Gosney and her 3 kids lived with them for a while, and during that time, he says they never saw any signs of abuse.
She would come down here, she'd leave them here, she'd go across the street, get them juices and snacks while they played. I mean, it was things parents supposed to do.
6 months before James's death, Daryl says Gosney moved out and moved in with Hamilton. They didn't approve of her new relationship, so Daryl says Gosney cut them off.
6 months, we didn't have no contact at all.
They haven't seen those grandkids since then because James's 2 siblings are in foster care.
They said they're doing pretty good, but I don't think they're doing real good because what they've seen. They have to live with that.
Although Gosney told police they put James in the Ohio River, Daryl has his doubts. Fearful he won't get the chance to bury his grandson before he takes his last breath.
I think they've done something else with his body, and they're saying that so they won't find it, as I think he was used bad. That's the only thing that hurts the worst, is not knowing where he is. If we can get him laid to rest, at least we know he's resting peacefully.
In Daryl's eyes, the stepdaughter he once knew and loved is now a stranger, a mother he believes turned into a monster and did the unthinkable to someone so vulnerable.
I think they should go away forever. I think they should get life sentences. That's just the way I feel. They took a life, they should lose theirs.
So we've seen from the video what the grandparents are thinking. Now let's entertain this possibility for a second. In a way, I tend to agree with the grandparents. It is very much possible that James was not dumped in the Ohio River. I mentioned this in my first video on James Hutchinson. Maybe Britney and Hamilton tried to divert attention away from the actual place where James' body is at. Maybe his body would reveal horrendous injuries which neither Hamilton nor Britney want us to find out. Maybe they think they will get more years in prison if James' body is found. Although on the other hand, the Ohio River being flooded, unsafe for divers, the change of seasons, all these can make it that much harder to find James's body. For months and months, the search for the body of James has come up empty-handed, with crews scouring the river for signs of the young boy. Search crews admit that the weather has worked against them in search efforts. First, it was heavy rain, then seasonal flooding that kept them from scouring the river. Now, crews are still searching the river, although not continuously. Several searches have taken place on the Ohio River over the few months in hopes of recovering James's body. So far, no search has successfully detected any sign of James. Tracy Campbell with North Star said that due to lack of evidence, there are no planned searches at this time, but that doesn't mean she's giving up. We are 100% committed, she said. If someone finds something or if there is an area law enforcement want to go back out and search, absolutely, we will do it. The principal of Middletown's Rosa Parks Elementary School, Tracy Neely, read a victim impact statement at Britney Gosney's September sentencing. James was a member of our Rosa Parks family for a very short time. While he was small, he touched all of our hearts with his red hair and his bright eyes. Neely remembers the 6-year-old spending kindergarten and first grade at Rosa Parks. Even when we were in COVID protocols and came back from virtual and we stopped the high fives and the hugs and stuff, he would always sneak one in anyways, Tracy Neely recalled with a laugh. Let's remember James Hutchinson's life with his memorial bench.
It struck me in court that you told the judge that you wanted people to know he mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. And all of our kids do. But I think sometimes we lose fact with, we get wrapped up in the case or the details of the case, and we lose sight that there was a kid involved in this and that he will be remembered. We don't have a body recovered yet. We don't have a grave site, but he will be remembered forever. And we have some things in school to remember him by. The community really rallied around us at the same time, from community partners, from this beautiful bench behind me. That was all community effort. The community reached out to me and said, hey, we really want to do something. What do you think? And they designed it, they did fundraising for it, and then installed it for us. We had our high school students at the art department did a beautiful portrait that hangs in our hallways. We have the library here donated a lending library in his honor and his name. And so we have pieces of him all around the building, but his life mattered and will continue to matter, just like I said, like everybody else is inside. There is still a fund set up. It was a partnership with the school system and the city of Middletown and police department. There's a trust fund established for his siblings that people can go online and they can still donate to.
The Middletown City School District, Middletown Police Department, the City of Middletown and local faith-based support groups opened the James You Are Loved Memorial Fund at First Financial Bank in March, just a few days after 6-year-old James Hutchinson was killed. The purpose of the fund is to provide financial support for James Hutchinson's 2 siblings, Rachel and Lucas. All donations received will go to the siblings. The proceeds will not be used for funeral expenses, as the arrangements had been donated if and when the boy's body is found. Pastor Lamar Farrell of Beraka Church in Middletown said the church has taken stewardship over the fund, which has grown to more than $28,000. The children are in foster care and church leaders have not yet been able to meet with the foster family. We said at the very beginning we wanted to help in any way and host the funeral or memorial service, Farrell said. We have also worked the schools for years, so we were honored to be able to take the fund and be a clearinghouse to help with any needs for the siblings. Donations can still be made to the fund. If you guys are interested, this is how you can donate. Visit or send an e-check to any First Financial Bank branch using the name James You Are Loved Memorial Fund. You can also mail a physical check to Middletown City School District, 1 Donham Plaza, 4th floor, Middletown, OH 45042 to the attention of James You Are Loved Memorial Fund. Alternatively, you can also donate online through PayPal. I will also leave all these details in the description below, so if you are interested, you can have a look there, and I'm also leaving the link for the PayPal donation in the description below. And this is basically everything else that has been released to the public regarding James Hutchinson, Britney Gosney and James Hamilton. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Please, 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 I really do have a favor. Don't forget to hit the like button. It really, really does help my channel, and it also helps me with the engagement. The more likes the video gets, the more YouTube will be pushing the video around on the platform. And also, lastly, if there is any case in particular that you want me to cover, I am leaving the link for the form in the description down below. You can have a look at it. The form, it's easier. I think it's much easier rather than contacting me on Facebook or YouTube or email. I might not see it, or maybe you don't like doing this kind of thing. So I think that the form is the straightforward thing to do. Everything is laid down there and it's very, very easy for me to go back and check on it. So my wish is to cover less covered cases in the media. I want to give opportunities for victims' voices to be heard, and I want to spread awareness, and that's the reason why I would love to focus my work around cases less known. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe and take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!